Hello, and welcome to Rock Your Block and today's segment of First Home Alliance. I'm your host, Larry Laws. I'm here to share with you the amazing services that First Home Alliance provides in the community, empower you with knowledge to enhance your financial fitness, and answer questions you may have about housing to make your dream of homeownership a success. On today's episode, we invite a special guest for the second time. He runs a nonprofit. He's a HUD Certified Housing Counselor. He has many years of experience in real estate and the mortgage industry. Welcome back to our show, Ross Levine. Ross, well, welcome to the show again.
Thank you so much for having me back, Larry. I appreciate that.
That's super. And so how was your ride in?
Well, it was a Friday afternoon coming from Greenbelt, Maryland. It was a lot of traffic, Well, but I made it.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yes, and I see you doing a lot of traveling around that belt lately.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. Well, welcome the second time back on our show. And so can you just refresh our audience about your organization?
Sure. We're a local nonprofit. We're located in Greenbelt, Maryland, and we offer housing counseling. We also do foreclosure prevention, and we also do first-time home buyer education as well as financial literacy.
All right, super. Yes, and what is the mission of the organization?
We provide community development as well as we provide financial literacy to people to be able to go ahead and make them better homeowners and better educated first-time home buyers.
Okay, and I understand you're located specifically. Where is your location? Your office
We're
location?
located at 6301 Ivy Lane. We're in Suite 108 in Greenbelt, Maryland. We're right next to the federal courthouse, as well as we're very conveniently located next to Metro.
Okay, and what are some of the ways that you outreach to the community? How do you get your customers?
Well, what we do is we get a lot of referrals from both state and local governments, as well as through referrals. We also have a website, and a lot of people find us through the website.
Yes, and the target, the geographical target, is it a certain area that you're focusing on?
We're located in Prince George's County, Maryland. However, we do a focus in the tri-state area, Maryland, D.C., and Northern Virginia.
Okay, and I understand that the majority of your clients that you're working with now is mostly foreclosure.
Correct. Correct.
Yes, and those clients, is any maybe percentage, if you want to use a percentage, as coming through word of mouth, or is it referrals, or where are you getting the majority of your clients that come through your door?
Most of the clients are referred to us either through local or state agencies and also through attorneys. We're actually right next to the bankruptcy court, so we have a lot of bankruptcy attorneys that come to us to help them with loss mitigation options for the people that file for bankruptcy.
Okay, yeah, and I know we had spoke earlier, and we was going to try to bring on one of your clients that you had actually helped through a foreclosure, and I think that that the residence you were speaking of was out of D.C. Was that correct?
Correct.
Yes. And can you tell me a little bit about that particular case?
Sure. She actually was referred to our agency directly through HUD, and she went ahead and she had a problem making payments. She was about 2 years behind in her payments. She had an adjustable rate loan.
Did you say 2 years behind in payments?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
Yes. You know, it's amazing. People think that people come for help when they're maybe 90 days or 120 days, but you're saying it 2 years later.
Correct. Yeah, it's 2 years is a long time, but people have been in houses for longer periods of time than that.
Yes.
Not making payments.
Okay. And you was going to mention a type of loan product that she was in already?
She had an adjustable rate loan, and what that is that's where the monthly payment is not fixed, but the payment can go up.
Okay. And so I guess she had been in there for, how many years she had already been in there?
She bought the house I believe in 2008.
Okay. And so it adjusted?
It adjusted,
Okay.
The payment adjusted to where the payment was no longer affordable, and she also was on social service income. So she didn't have a job. She was relying on income from different sources and couldn't afford to go ahead and make that mortgage payment.
Okay. Was that the only source of income with the one that you just mentioned there? What was her family situation? Did she have a family or additional income?
She had triplets, and she was getting income from her child from DC government, for her children from DC government, and that's all the income that she was getting.
With triplets?
Correct.
Okay. So she was in a little bit of financial hardship there.
I would say, being a triplet, I know how it is.
Oh, yeah. So you are?
I am a triplet.
Okay.
I actually have a twin brother and a twin sister, and I also have twins myself.
Really? Yes. So that's dangerous, having another you around.
Absolutely. I look in the mirror all the time, and I think I'm looking at my brother.
Yes, but it's a good thing if he's doing his service anywhere close to what you're doing for that community. I think it's a great thing.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, and so this resident, that DC resident, was able to find you to help her, and she was referred to you from one HUD agency.
Correct.
Okay, and so what were you able to do for her?
What I was able to do is I was able to get her into an affordable payment where she can keep the home based upon the income that she's currently getting. And then hopefully, once her kids get older, she'll be able to go ahead and go back to work, because raising triplets, she doesn't have any time to work. That's a full-time job. So getting income after her kids start going to school to where the payment is going to go ahead and be more affordable.
Yes, that's great. And what have you did follow up with that family?
Yes, actually, I just spoke with her, and she was supposed to be on the show with us today, but she wasn't able to because she didn't have any coverage for her children.
Okay. And how's her housing situation now?
She's currently in the home. The house is, she's making the payments. The loan is current. And I believe that without me helping her, as she had said in her story, she wouldn't be able to be in the home without working with a housing counselor.
Super. And so, yes, and I understand that is the type of testimonials that you want to get out in the community to let people know that you are providing a good service. And upon that type of testimony is able to outreach for you to get more in. Yes. With the other organizations, are you working with any events or outreach avenues to bring more people in?
Yes, we do first-time home buyer education classes. We also do some foreclosure prevention classes, and we're actually partner with you, with First Home Alliance, in doing outreach events as well.
Yes, that's super. And I think you were there the other day at one of the veterans. That's the Veteran Association of Real Estate Professionals. How was that event? That
event was excellent.
Yes.
The resources they're able to go ahead and provide, that the VAREP is tremendous. Okay. Tremendous.
And what do you think about expanding more to that community of veterans?
I think that's a very good idea, and one that's needed, because there's a lot of different things that veterans are able to get. For example, when they buy a home, there's a VA loan where they can go ahead and they can buy the home, and they can also pay off debt with buying a home if the seller's allowing them to do so. They can, in fact, get up to 10% toward closing costs.
Oh, super. Yes. And so I really appreciate you, teaming up with First Home Alliance and also taking on another challenge of helping our vets.
Thank you so much.
Yes. We're about to take a short break, but before we go, I would like to remind you that First Home Alliance is a HUD-approved housing counseling agency serving the National Capital Area. If you are a first-time home buyer or a homeowner in need of mortgage assistance, I encourage you to check the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development website to find a HUD-approved agency in your area. We'll be right back after the break. Stay tuned. We need donated funds for leverage so that these grants will match those funds as well. And so that is the encouragement to give for people to give. And I'm trying to use some good language, in reference to because when you talk about financial literacy, homebuyer education, foreclosure prevention, some people say, well, I don't really want to give to that. But I want to speak to the impact of the community and the impact of not only people losing their home, but it highly impacts property values, home ownership. It impacts crime rate. It impacts homelessness. It impacts high school dropouts. And so I want to demonstrate all those impacts that may not be visible in reference to just home ownership. Welcome back. You're watching Rock Your Block. I'm your host, Larry Laws. Today, segment of First Home Alliance, we're here with our special guest, Ross Levine. Ross, before the break, we was talking about the need for housing counseling and also how important it was for housing counselors to actually provide a service to veterans. Can you tell me a little bit more, maybe some advantages of having a housing counselor and veterans a source that they can come to? Sure.
For housing counseling, there's a lot of different things a housing counselor can do and offer to a veteran as well as to non-veterans, to civilians. The first thing they can do is when a person is going to go and buy a home, there's pre-purchase education we're able to go ahead and offer. Why that's important, Larry, is we're able to go ahead and walk the veteran or the civilian through the home buying process, from the start of working with the realtor, from going to closing, from going through the loan process. That's important for first-time home buyers. As far as people in need of foreclosure assistance, veterans or civilians again, working with a housing counselor, what we're able to do is we're able to offer free services to work with the servicer to be able to go ahead and offer them assistance through budget counseling, helping them fill out their loss mitigation package, and then be in contact with the lenders to be able to go ahead and speed the process up.
Okay, so it sounds like that housing counseling is still needed. And so I know most of the housing counseling at one time was about home ownership, credit, budget, more on the pre-side. And so, and also some of the housing counselors at one time was a little reluctant, I guess, to actually go over to the loss mitigation side. And so do you think it's still important for housing counselors to concentrate in that area?
Yes, I think it's very important, especially now with the rise in foreclosures in Maryland, D.C., and in Virginia. What had happened is that with the National Mortgage Servicing settlement, what's going on now is the foreclosures are starting all over again. So we're starting to see a rise in Maryland where there's a lot of foreclosures that are starting to actually be filed and properties to go to foreclosure. So it's very important now for borrowers to go ahead and get in contact with a housing counselor, and we're able to offer those services free of charge. Okay.
And when should a homeowner seek your services, or the services of a housing counselor in reference to loss mitigation?
From the first time they had missed a payment. So if they know that they're going to be behind in their payments, if they're behind 30 days or if they're current and they think they're going to go ahead and miss a payment because of a reduction of income, that's called imminent default, they need to go ahead and reach out to a housing counselor, and we're able to go ahead. As a housing counselor, we can go ahead and go through their budget and see if there's something that we're able to go ahead and suggest to them to improve their budget to make the housing payment more affordable.
Okay. And so it sounds like so the crises are not over. And so what are some of the stats that you know of in reference to the foreclosure rate in Virginia or Maryland?
In Maryland, I just checked before I came, and there's 1 in 508 households that are currently in foreclosure, at some point in foreclosure, which is very high.
Okay. And so some of our audience, you know, that live, maybe work in Maryland and live in Virginia and vice versa, and also work in D.C. and other places, there's a difference in judicial and non-judicial foreclosure proceedings. And so could you enlighten us in reference to the difference between the Maryland and D.C. versus Virginia?
Sure. In Maryland and D.C., there's foreclosure mediation. Those are judicial foreclosure states, where what has to happen is it has to go through a court process, through the courts for the foreclosure. In Virginia, it does not. So in Maryland, the time frame is a longer period of time, as well as D.C., for the foreclosures to happen, the actual sales.
Okay. And so, yeah, so a little bit more about the judicial foreclosure proceeding there. What is the time periods?
In Maryland, what happens is they have to go ahead and they have 120 days to go ahead and file a notice of intent to foreclose, between 90 to 120. And then after that, what has to happen in Maryland is they have to either docket the foreclosure with a preliminary loss mitigation affidavit or a final loss mitigation affidavit. The foreclosure laws in Maryland will allow a borrower to go ahead and opt in to get into mediation, and that's a very important thing. And that's where a borrower can go ahead and have a face-to-face meeting with their loan servicer, as well as the borrower's, the bank's attorney, to be able to go ahead and see if there's any options that they could offer to avoid foreclosure, because that's what they're trying to do, to try and go ahead and slow down the foreclosure process.
Okay. And then again, when can the borrower request this mediation?
In Maryland, the only way they can request the mediation is once a final loss mitigation affidavit is filed with the courts, and they have a certain period of time, 25 days, to go ahead and request the mediation.
Okay. And can a housing counselor, where does a housing counselor fit in reference to mediation?
A housing counselor can go ahead and work with the borrowers to be able to go ahead and help them prepare the loss mitigation package, which is a requirement of mediation, as well as go through the budget to see if the house is affordable. And also, the housing counselor can attend the mediation with the homeowner as their advocate.
Okay. And could you cover maybe some of the important documents that are in the package that you need to submit?
Sure. The documents for a loss mitigation package would include the bank's hardship package, which would be their documents. Every bank has different documents, so it's very important. It's not just one set of documents. If someone has a loan, say for example, with Bank of America, those documents may or will be different than, say, someone who has a loan with Wells Fargo.
Okay.
That's number one. The second thing they would need is they would need proof of their income.
Okay.
If they don't have any income, then an explanation letter would be needed for that, as well as their bank statements, if they have a bank account, as well as tax returns, and as well as a signed hardship letter stating exactly what the hardship is, and if the hardship has been cured, or if it's going to be a short-term, long-term, or what's going on, what caused them to fall behind, because the bank really wants to go ahead and help the borrowers stay in the house. The banks don't want to take the house. The banks want to offer options to be able to go ahead and have borrowers stay in their house, and if they can't stay in their house, they want to give them options to be able to leave their house without having to foreclose.
Okay. Yes, and in cases where families had to foreclose, do the banks maybe assist in them transitioning from the house back to a renter?
Sometimes it really depends on who the bank is and really who the investor is.
Okay.
So, for example, if the house has already been foreclosed upon, there's sometimes someone would come from the bank, reach out to the borrowers, whether it be a local real estate agent or someone just going to go ahead and facilitate going to the property to offer them some type of cash. It's called cash for keys, for them to do some type of relocation. Fannie Mae also has a program to be able to go ahead and do that as well, to where they can be renters in the property and stay there, and that's definitely a good thing.
Yes, and I know I went on the negative side there, but give me an example of some of the successful workouts and the type of modifications that some have received.
Sure. The different types of modifications that I've been successful in working with borrowers is Tracy Brown, the lady that we were talking about with the triplets, where she's able to go ahead and reduce her monthly payments to an affordable payment. The others, I've worked with others where they were in some stage of foreclosure. And I've also worked with others where they've actually filed bankruptcy, or they've been in a bankruptcy, and the mortgage company was willing to go ahead and do some type of a workout for them to be able to do a modification.
Yes. And so what message would you leave for the audience in reference to if they're struggling to make their mortgage payment? What message would you give to them?
If they're struggling to make their mortgage payment, they need to reach out to a housing counselor, to go and go to HUD's website, to go and reach out and look and find a local housing counselor in their area.
Okay. And a question I want to personally ask you, Ross, is why do you do this type of work? Why do you do it?
Oh, I love helping people, Larry. It's a personal thing. I love helping people that have had issues, being able to go ahead and know the resources instead of having someone to go to an attorney to go ahead and pay for legal advice for a loss mitigation package, for example. Someone can come to a nonprofit housing counselor like myself, and we have the resources and tools, and we're able to go ahead and help those borrowers.
Okay. And then once again, can you let our audience know how to find you?
Sure. You can reach me through the World Wide Web at www.romkind.org, or you can call us at 301-899-6800.
Yeah. Well, Ross, I want to thank you again for coming on the Rock Your Block show, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you. I do as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Our special guest today shared amazing story about families that he have helped. He's a HUD certified counselor, and those are the ones that you want to reach out for to give you a better service, and they do not cost you anything. He has saved homes from foreclosure, therefore keeping families together. If you are a homeowner and you need mortgage assistance, contact Ross or check the HUD website for an approved agency in your area. Now it's time to check our inbox. This is where we share a recent question sent to us from our viewing audience in reference to housing and financial education. Today's question comes from a resident in Washington, D.C. I pulled my credit report and I did not have a score. How is this possible? That's a very good question. And yes, it is possible to have no credit score. The well-known rule is that if you don't use it, you lose it. There's a number of reasons why you do not have a score. One is not all creditors report to the same bureau. So you may have pulled your credit from one bureau that has not reported to that particular bureau, but maybe to one of the other three. Another is it could have been some time since you have used your credit there before it becomes stagnant and the score no longer shows because there is no activity. But I do encourage you to continue to pull your credit report annually at annualcreditreport.com. It is free and you should do that at least once a year. If you have questions concerning financial education or hardship or homeownership, email our inbox at help@firsthomealliance.org to get your questions answered, and tune into our next show to see if your question was selected to be shared with our audience. If you want to find out more about our services, visit our website. I am your host, Larry Laws. Thank you for watching Rock Your Block in today's segment of First Home Alliance. See you next time.
Flex Boot Camp is a pilot program. We are seeking applicants that are serious about getting into financial shape and willing to take on the Financial Literacy Education Experience Challenge. We ask candidates for a 12-month commitment of financial management conditioning. We offer 10 financial education modules augmented by monthly confidential one-on-one financial coaching sessions. We are committed to help you reach your financial goal. Your success is our success. If you are interested, please visit our website for more information.